That's right, or Grant Sparks. However, you know me. And today we're talking about the Delulu, the delusion of entrepreneurship, and the secret lives of entrepreneurs. And here's where we're starting. If you think that you're getting into entrepreneurship to become a millionaire and radically rich and solve your happiness, you're wrong. You're not going to make it. It's not going to happen. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs over the last 10, 20 years now. I've coached a lot of entrepreneurs. I've coached them for business, but most of my coaching has been through speaking, personal development. And as a personal development coach, I've been able to coach millionaires and regular entrepreneurs. And most of the regular entrepreneurs I have coached, nearly all of them have never made more than about $60,000 a year in their entire career. I say entire career. Most of them have only been entrepreneurs for about 10 years. They got the entrepreneurial bug in their mid-30s or early 40s and did that until they were mid to late 40s and 50s, and they're already worn out. I'm telling you this so that you don't go into entrepreneurship with a wrong paradigm. Going into entrepreneurship should rarely be about money. Now, what I mean by that is this. You got to go into entrepreneurship and you got to focus on the money. I made a mistake of focusing on the meaning or the significance or the service-mindedness of it way too much, way too early on. But entrepreneurship is something that's delivering other quality of life things that I think you should zero in on. Now, before we go much further in that, the first thing I want to do is morning cup of gratitude. What are you grateful for? Tell me in the comments below what's getting you out of bed, what's getting you grateful this morning, because if you can't start with an attitude of gratitude, you can't see the opportunities in front of you. So I'll start with my morning cup of gratitude. I'm absolutely grateful today for every single entrepreneur client I've had because I've been able to learn from all of them. By entrepreneur clients, if you don't know this about me, I've been coaching entrepreneurs since roughly 2008, 2007, something like that, actively since 2014. But what I found is this. Most people go into entrepreneurship with the sexy side in mind. Am I going to travel? Am I going to meet a partner or companions? Am I going to have wild escapades abroad? And is it going to be sensual and hot? Am I going to make tons of money and drive Lambos? And if you skim the feeds at all, that appears to be what everyone else is able to do. Now, that's only the highlights. What people very rarely show is the grind. What people very rarely show is go live on Instagram, walking to the office and slugging through email after email. What it very rarely shows is the moments of existential crisis when you're laying in bed nearly every single morning. Most every entrepreneur I've ever coached has had mental health issues. Now, let me tell you this, like they've had some money, they've had not money. They've had some moments of joy and create joy in other people's lives. They've experienced phenomenal happiness. But their daily average experience is that of existential crisis. I've accomplished a lot of this. What should I do now? I've hit my lid. Do I want to do more personal development? I know the work it takes. So now, because I've pushed so far in entrepreneurship, I know what it takes. So I know what the next level takes. So should I even bother? The secret lives of entrepreneurs are not puff jackets, flying to Monaco, participating in the races there, or traipsing around the world. The average secret life of an entrepreneur is that they barely make more than $70,000 a year, and they're dealing with depression as much, if not more than others, because other people depend on them. As an entrepreneur, you have employees and they depend on you. And what happens when you wake up and realize, I haven't generated the revenue, this business hasn't generated the revenue that I need to, and I have to terminate somebody? Do you know how depressing that is? It's one thing to wake up in a job you don't like. It's another thing to wake up in your own job that you don't like and not be able to produce for the people that are depending on you. The secret life of entrepreneurs, we lived in the Dominican Republic and I was able to write 2 books. I swim in a pool every single day. I ate great food. I was getting a tan. I surfed and I was depressed. Entrepreneurship, the true secret is that it will very rarely solve your money problems, and very rarely solve your depression issues at all. Now, it sounds like I'm trying to dissuade you from being an entrepreneur, and I'm not. I want you to be an entrepreneur for several reasons. Number one, the world still needs entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, though they deal with depression, most entrepreneurs are natively optimists. They believe that things can get better. They believe that things can get better for themselves. They believe that they can make the world a better place. They believe that they can do things better, not better than someone because I'm a competitor. They believe that they saw an opportunity that they think they can fix. Entrepreneurs are generally optimists, and the world needs more optimism. Number two, the world needs catalysts, and entrepreneurs are catalysts. By catalysts, if you think of a chemical equation, there's a catalyst that agitates all the atoms, and they do something. They become something new. They transition. They're explosive. Entrepreneurs are societal catalysts. So even though entrepreneurs deal with depression, they go out and start shit. Even though entrepreneurs deal with lack of money like everyone else. Most every entrepreneur I know is dealing with money issues like everyone else, but they still go out that door and make something happen. They bring joy. They create an idea. They create a breakthrough. They initiate a conversation. People have lunches because of entrepreneurs. People start dreaming because of entrepreneurs. People get inspired because of entrepreneurs. And these are societal catalyst. So even though it sounds like I'm telling you entrepreneurship's not worth it, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying don't get into entrepreneurship thinking you're going to overnight or quickly solve your money issues. It rarely does that. And don't go into entrepreneurship thinking it will solve the happiness issue you have. It will rarely do that. Quite often, entrepreneurship will start, or intrapreneurship, that's when you act like an entrepreneur, but on your job, you start bringing personal power. You start bringing agency to your job. It starts to create, first and foremost, location freedom. You can start to work remotely. When you can work remotely, you can optimize and get efficient. And when you get efficient, you can then start having some time freedom because you can produce the same amount in a shorter period of time because no one's looking over your shoulder. And with that extra time, you can do more of your hobby, more of your dream, or build out the next thing you're trying to leap to. And then from there, you might begin to see some financial freedom. But each one of those steps is 10 times harder than the previous. It's a 10x factor at each one of those steps to get location freedom, then to really work hard to get some time freedom, and then to really work 10 times harder than that to get some financial freedom. Whatever you think entrepreneurship will take to get financial freedom, it's usually 10 times more difficult than that. But I know that sounds like I'm trying to dissuade you. I'm not. You heard my reasons before. And basically, society needs more optimists, and entrepreneurs are native optimists. Society needs people that are problem solvers or problem identifiers and solvers. And entrepreneurs quite often bring that to the table. And then here's the final reason I believe you should be an entrepreneur. The personal development required to keep going as an entrepreneur is second to none. I know of no other personal development other than what parents have told me being a parent is. Every single day you wake up, every entrepreneur I know, every single day they wake up, they think about their bottom line and they have an existential crisis of, are they going to make it? Doesn't matter if they're $1 million clients or not. I've had $1 million entrepreneur clients with healthy profit margins still worry. Because now they're not just worrying about earning money, now they're worrying about how do I keep it? What do I do next? All I know is this one thing that got me here, but what got me here won't get me there. And now I've got to start over as a noob, and that requires personal development. The requirement to study, the requirement to talk to people who are further ahead than you, the requirement to build relationships at people at the next tier. The personal development required of entrepreneurs is huge. So the third reason I think you should still be an entrepreneur in spite of the fact that statistically you won't make more than $70,000 a year, even if you have a $500,000 to $600,000 company. Hear me on this. Entrepreneurs that I know that have built a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 company still are only pulling about $70,000 a year. They have other perks. But generally speaking, they're still only pulling that much money. Why? Because it's got to get reinvested in the machine. The beast needs to get fed. And so you have to jump to about $1 million to $1.2 to $2 million company before you personally start seeing income significantly, dramatically go higher than that. Well, I've seen in the feeds that this influencer is doing drop shipping. Have you tried drop shipping? We've experimented with drop shipping. It is difficult. You still have to fix the marketing issue. You still have to fix the personal branding issue. Do you know how difficult it is to build a personal brand? I've been doing 300 lives. This is episode 302. Before that, I had an entire show of over 200 different shows on missionalism and small business stuff. Then with crypto, I had over 100 episodes of crypto. Do you know how difficult it is to build a personal brand? Whatever you think it is, it's going to take more. The reality of building $1 million company based on what you see in social feeds is complete fallacy. Because what you don't see is someone posting in the feeds all the difficult things it takes. Like I said earlier, trudging to work and writing emails, trudging to work and picking up the phone and cold calling 50 to 100 people that day alone. You very rarely see people post on that on Instagram because it's not sexy. That is the average entrepreneur's experience. To pull 70 grand a year? I say that to say, go into it with right expectations. I'm doing this to take a sense of control of my life back, because here's what entrepreneurs have that I don't think the average person has. The average entrepreneur experiences a sense of personal power, agency in the world. When you wake up and face existential crisis and think, I've got to bring in income for myself and my employees today. When you face that often enough, when things get really bad, you still know that you can rely on yourself. You still know that you can trust yourself. When you're an employee and you don't face those challenges, you let these moments and opportunities slide. You don't really cultivate the skills necessary to survive in a difficult economy. I have seen the internet bubble in 2001 pop, and I lost my job then. Just before that, in 1999. When 9/11 happened and I watched the market crash, I lost my job then. And I was doing side hustles the whole time. I started a bunch of entrepreneurial things in my 20s, and I was learning the skills necessary. Then when 2008 real estate market crashed and everything crashed in 2008, 2009, I had the skills necessary. I could trust myself. Was it difficult? Yes. Did I face existential crisis? Yes. Did I have $1 million in the bank? No, not at all. But when I stood in line to get a job with 100 other people, I had more personal power. I had more sense of identity. I was grounded. Most of the people were desperate and they didn't know what to do and they were begging for work. I, on the other hand, could tell them and articulate what I was going to bring to the table. And that's what got me work in 2008. Then we saw another correction in 2011. Entrepreneurs bring a sense of personal power to themselves that might create the breakthrough that makes them millionaires and don't have to work for it anymore. But that dream is for a very few amount of entrepreneurs, because the other benefits of entrepreneurship is the sense of personal power, the personal development, and the skills and optimism that come to bear when you're an entrepreneur. So I say the secret lives of entrepreneurs: depression, very rarely making more than $70,000 a year. But can you hold your head up high and develop the skills necessary and do something that employees very rarely have, and that is this: you have a chance. When you step into entrepreneurship, you give yourself a chance. You give yourself a possibility that maybe you can create a degree of freedom for yourself and those you love. When you're an employee, you very rarely have that chance to accelerate that journey. You're going to put in the time no matter what. Yes, you will have assurance of money hitting your bank account so long as the market doesn't correct and you don't get fired, so long as AI doesn't displace your job. There's all these insecurities, but you still statistically have a better chance of having $500 to $1 million in the bank when you retire. But as an entrepreneur, you have a chance of bringing that timeline to you quicker, and that's entrepreneur math right there. So I say all that to say this. You need a little Delulu. You need a little delusion to be an entrepreneur, but it's the type of delusion that society needs. If you can suspend your belief and believe that football is good for society, and you can suspend if you can suspend your disbelief and believe that professional sports do something valuable for your life. If you can delude yourself and believe that watching Netflix for hours on end in the evening will bring your brain the restfulness that you need from a hard day's work. If you can believe in those delusions, you can also believe that giving yourself a chance in entrepreneurship will bring a sense of optimism, personal development, but more than all of that, personal power and self-confidence in a way that no other industry that I know of, except maybe parenting, can do for you. Well, parenting's difficult and parenting's hard. That's what a lot of the parents in my life say. Hey, so's entrepreneurship. You're going to be facing difficulties every single day. But I present for your consideration, in spite of all those downsides, it's worth it. So why am I talking about entrepreneurship? Why am I talking about the delusion of entrepreneurship? Because I believe the world needs what's inside of you, and I believe more than anything, you need what's inside of you. So what do I want you to do today? I want you to consider, if you're not already an entrepreneur, consider it. Go read the book E-Myth, phenomenal book. It stands for the entrepreneur myth, and it says that only certain people are entrepreneurs. I don't believe that's true. I believe anyone who seeks freedom, the economic system of anyone who seeks freedom is entrepreneurship. So if you're seeking freedom in any way, shape, or form, whether it's through your faith, Whether it's through your work, whether it's through your family, whether it's through legacy, if you believe that you should be free, I believe you should be an entrepreneur. And if you're already an entrepreneur, get help. Get mental help, because you and I know at this point that entrepreneurship is not going to bring you happiness. And then get mentoring help on the business, because you and I both know that making gobs of money in entrepreneurship is a lot harder than people ever told you. It's a lot harder than you ever predicted. Whatever you thought it was, it's 10 times harder than that. And then when you get there, you're going to realize it's 10 times harder than that. I don't say that to discourage you. I say that so that you know what you face when you step in. But the rewards of self-confidence, personal development, and optimism are more than worth it. But no matter what you do today, I recommend you remember this. Remember the mission: igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a great day.